All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results, positive or not.
To the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I am your host, Philly's number one son, aka the body alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, and Happy New Year to all of you. It is the year 2020, the year of clarity, and we are back. That's right. I'm so excited to be back here with all of you. I know there are so many questions about what took place to the De La Fit podcast. Where were we? What were we doing? Are we continuing to do podcasts? Yes, there are so many things to talk about, so many good things to talk about, and I'm going to start right from the beginning. So for many of you, you contacted, you reached out, you said, what's going on with the podcast, Sun Moon? What's going on with the podcast? Well, let me just explain a little bit about some of the things. One, everything was positive. We had so much positive progression taking place with the show that it was prudent for us, myself, to take some time away from posting new podcast content. What we did do is we continued to interview great guests for the upcoming 2020 year. Actually, from 2019 into 2020. So you're going to hear the first show coming up is going to be with the Dr. Kyrin Dunston. And we did this in 2019, late 2019. Dr. Dunston is going to be talking about some amazing things, which I'll talk about soon, but a little bit more about what's been going on with the show. So for all my listeners out there, all of my supporters, you've been emailing, you've been contacting, calling. So what took place is that I originally had a person who was helping me with the show. She was like my right hand. She was my virtual assistant, and she would write a lot of the blobs that you see that explain about what the guests are. If I wasn't able to research a specific topic, she would research a topic and help me with the questions for a guest. In a sense, she was kind of like my executive producer or my co-producer. She has since left the show, and went on to other greater things, and that's a wonderful thing for her. She helped us to progress to a level where we could do more, which is awesome. Last year, what we were able to do was increase our platform by getting put on iHeartMedia Radio. We have spread to other platforms, and we are now getting into the live streaming area. So there will be some podcast that you will hear where it's live streamed to other platforms. So we have expanded exponentially to other platforms and in other ways as well. Also, we were able to get the trademark for De La Fit. So I'm so happy about that. That is something that I worked very hard on, and it actually took almost a year, because it's almost 6 months to a year when it comes to getting something trademarked. So shout out to my lawyers. Shout out to the people that helped me with that. De La Fit is officially trademarked. So just some of the things that we took care of during 2019 and why we had to step back a little bit before we were able to put out more content. Also, we were looking for ways to promote the podcast in more areas, because a lot of people like the podcast. They were asking, where can we see it? What can we do? These are some of the things that were taking place. here at De La Fit. And I'm so excited because we were able to do so much and continue making great content. And we've got a great content lineup for you all in this beautiful 2020 year, the year of clarity. And I'm so excited. This first show, again, is going to be with Dr. Kyrin Dunston. I'm going to bring up a little bit of her information and her background just to explain a little bit about her to you all. Dr. Kyrin Dunston is a holistic health expert, speaker, and health coach. Kyrin moves beyond her career as a community OBGYN and holistic health practitioner and teaches women what it really means to heal, become optimally healthy, and thrive in life. Continually board certified since completing her residency, Dr. Dunston takes her clinical expertise beyond the exam room as a doctorpreneur. So that's just a little bit about Dr. Dunston. She's a wonderful guest. She was on at the tail end of 2019 and talked about how to manage weight and how to effectively have a better diet that will prolong keeping and maintaining your weight. And we brought her back to talk about a little known topic, which is DHEA, which is a hormone that affects almost everything within our body. So we brought her back because we had some questions about this. We had some people who wanted to know more about DHEA. I'm not going to continue talking. I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us, who stood by us, who wanted to see us come back. We are here. Happy 2020. And please enjoy the interview with Dr. Kyrin Dunston. What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the De La Fit podcast, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. We are lucky to have with us today Dr. Kyrin Dunston. She has agreed to come back and speak with us about the subject today, which is DHEA. She's going to break down some information on this and explain to us just what it is, why we need it, and a little bit more in depth for us. So, Dr. Kyrin, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. We've managed to get our systems up and running. We're recording. It sounds greater than it ever has. I'm ecstatic right now. I'm feeling really good.
Good.
Right. And so, Dr. Kyrin, this is a conversation that we've been having. Some of our listeners, they've been curious about this because DHEA is kind of being talked about as almost like a miracle hormone or supplement from different individuals. If you look on YouTube or if you look at health-based officials, but a lot of people don't really understand it. So could you break down what is DHEA?
Sure. So DHEA is dihydroepiandrosterone, and it's a type of hormone that has weak androgen as well as estrogen properties that's created in the steroidogenic pathway in the adrenal glands. This also occurs in the gonads of males and females, so testes and ovaries. And so it's one of the hormones in a cascade. But first, I just want to say, anytime someone's saying that something is a miracle hormone or a miracle supplement, you need to back up a minute, because there is no magic bullet miracle supplement or hormone. what there is if you take a comprehensive approach to root cause treatment of disorders and you address a specific person's imbalances, then you will get the best result, which will seem like a miracle because they'll be able to achieve results that most people can't. Now, if someone is particularly deficient in DHEA and they take DHEA, it may seem like a miraculous treatment or recovery, but that's not going to happen for everyone, because if you don't have a deficiency, giving superhuman or supraphysiologic levels, meaning above the normal levels of a hormone, is not going to make you better. So I just want to give that caveat and just dispel that myth right off at the beginning. But basically, DHEA is a hormone in a line of hormones. They call it a parent hormone because all of your sex hormones are steroid hormones, and they all are derived from cholesterol. So that's another thing that I want to bring out, is that people think that cholesterol is so bad and that it's the enemy, but it's not the enemy. You really can't live without it. You can't make hormones without it. So your body takes cholesterol and turns it into pregnenolone. That's the first step in this steroidogenic pathway. And pregnenolone is really like a grandmother hormone, if you will, because she can turn into all the other hormones, whether it's testosterone or the different types of estrogen or progesterone. She also makes aldosterone, which helps you regulate your electrolytes in your kidney and your fluid water balance. So she really is the grandmother of all these hormones after cholesterol, which I guess is the great-great-grandmother or grandfather. And then through a series of enzymatic steps in these different tissues will be transformed into various hormones, and DHEA is one of the hormones. It has a little bit of a stronger androgenic activity, although it's not as much as androstenedione and testosterone or dihydrotestosterone. It has weak, but it also has a very weak estrogenic activity. And so that's essentially what it is.
So what are some of, because this is something that I've also heard about and have read about, and some of our listeners have asked about, what is low DHEA, or what are some of the symptoms of it? Why is that? And what does it do to the body when there is a deficiency?
Right. So we all have DHEA, whether male or female. It typically starts declining at the age of 30 in both men and women. And they call it the age-related decline, as do a lot of the hormones. But what we talk about in functional medicine is that you don't have to put up with that typical age-related decline. You can do something about it. So it's particularly... Sorry, I have to get something on my computer. So it's particularly important with maintenance of your skeletal frame, so your musculature and your bones having adequate muscle mass, which leads to adequate bone mass. It's important for your heart health. It's important for your sex hormones because it is a precursor to the sex hormones. It's important for lowering inflammation and keeping that down. It helps with preventing aches and pains, and it helps to protect your bone. One of the main functions that it has that's absolutely vital in your body is it is the backup hormone to cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And so when I see someone who has a particularly large deficiency in DHEA, I always look at their cortisol levels. So cortisol is also one of the hormones that's created in this steroidogenic pathway, and it regulates your sleep-wake cycle. It has a lot to do with your energy. It has everything to do with your immune system, whether you get sick or not, whether you get cancer or not. Well, most of us in this day and age have so much stress on our bodies and our psyches. So stress can be three different types. You can have mental, emotional stress. That's what we think about when we think about stress. But you also have blood sugar stress. So what you eat and how you eat. If you eat too many high glycemic index foods with too much sugar, or you skip meals, or you eat too many starches, then you're going to have a difficulty. That's a stress on your cortisol there. And then the last type of stress is chemical stress, and that can be from infectious processes like bacteria, viruses, parasites, but it can also be chemicals in the environment, whether it's heavy metals or the phthalates from the plastics that you eat out of, or the lining in the cans. We're just inundated with artificial flavors, colors, and toxins in our environment. So 3 types of stress that affect your cortisol, your stress hormone. And so most of us in this day and age, we have so much stress on our cortisol that almost none of us have a normal cortisol. And that really is the biggest determinant of the status of your overall health. And so what your body does is it can only make so much cortisol in so much time. So it keeps a reservoir of active and inactive cortisol. It will keep some cortisol in an inactive form so it can mobilize it very quickly if needed. But the other thing that it does is it ramps up DHEA production, or it tries to, I should say, because DHEA is easily convertible by the body into cortisol. So it's another reservoir in the handling of stress. So, like I said, your natural levels start going down at 30, which particularly has to do with the level of stress that you've encountered by the time your body is 30. Your body then is usually in some type of overproduction mode of DHEA, and its ability to make DHEA starts going down. But if stress becomes high, the levels, your body actually will ramp up DHEA production, and that's actually one of the signs of impending doom when it comes to cortisol. Is if I see someone who has a really high DHEA level, I know that their body is working really hard to maintain that level of cortisol so there isn't a kind of an adrenal collapse or adrenal fatigue. And you also can see really low levels of DHEA, which means that the body really doesn't have it in the tank anymore to support that cortisol. So it really, this is the mechanism of action. Yes, some people have called it the fountain of youth, and it's not even so much of its direct effects that it has in the body, but it's its indirect effect and its supporting role as the supporting character for cortisol, because cortisol, I used to call it king cortisol, now I call it queen cortisol, because it really is the key determinant of your overall health. It's the determinant of if you're going to sleep well or not, if you're going to be overweight or not, if you are going to get sick or not. And I should say that DHEA is very helpful with weight loss because it supports these other hormones and has direct effects on muscle mass and things like that. But there's a particular form called 7-keto-DHEA that is not metabolized into these other hormones, so just stays as 7-keto-DHEA, that has particular benefits for muscle mass and weight loss. So you may have heard, people listening may have heard a lot of bodybuilders or fitness professionals talk about that form of DHEA, which is very helpful.
Yeah, so that's one thing I've heard, and it's specifically common in the fitness world, which brings me to another question, which I think you already explained it, but just for the listeners out there who want, who always like to hear that concrete answer, is DHEA a steroid?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And it's not like, explain this a little bit. It's not like they would particularly think of a steroid. Am I correct? And when I say that, so
people, I think in lay terms, people think of steroids, anabolic steroids, as the ones prohibited by certain athletic organizations. But what they don't realize is that all hormones made from cholesterol are steroid hormones. And that includes DHEA, it includes testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, androstenedione, androstenediol, all 3 types of estrogen, estrone, estradiol, estriol, and progesterone. And it includes cortisol and aldosterone. So all of these hormones are steroid hormones, and they are steroids.
So steroids are natural already to the body. It's something that we already come with. All right. Correct. With that in mind, let's deal with, and you talked about this somewhat, let's deal with something as far as the symptoms. If a person thinks they might be low in DHEA, what should they be wary of?
Well, what people might notice, so usually hormone imbalances don't occur in a vacuum. They don't occur in isolation. You don't have all your hormones normal and you just have a DHEA deficiency. That doesn't happen. So the symptoms can be very varied, but they're not particularly specific to just DHEA. So I think that's important for people to know. Now, what are some things that it could represent that you could experience, but you probably could experience with other hormones? Fatigue is one of the things that you'll notice. Decreased exercise endurance capacity, decreased muscle mass, decreased bone mass. Any type of brain function issues can be precipitated by DHEA. Weight gain, difficulty with sleeping, fatigue in the morning, like I said, insomnia, weight issues, getting sick more often than not. You know, if a virus goes around and you always get it. But like I said, these are not just DHEA problems. So most of the symptoms that we have in our body are multifactorial. The mainstream medicine has really given us this tunnel vision that a problem is caused by one thing, and they don't really look at the cause of the problem. They are only concerned with getting rid of the problem, and they consider that a return to a state of health, but nothing could be further from the truth. So let's take insomnia for an example. So you go to the doctor and you can't sleep, and you say, I have insomnia, and they say, oh, they don't ask you any other questions about it. They just write you a prescription. Usually they'll say, well, did you try Benadryl? And you say yes or no, and it didn't work great. And then they'll give you some Ambien or something else to knock your brain out so that you are in what you think is a sleep state for the night. But that doesn't address the reason why you couldn't sleep in the first place. So we've gotten this really myopic, distorted view that health means an absence of the symptom that you are complaining about, but that's not health. That's just a symptom being controlled with a drug. And the problem...
Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Then these imbalances that were causing you to not be able to sleep in the first place are allowed to continue, and they're continuing unabated, and they're going to cause problems in your health in other areas if they haven't already. But that's our distorted paradigm of health these days, is symptoms controlled with drugs. And so when you go to someone like a functional medicine practitioner like myself, I am concerned with getting you to sleep, but I'm also concerned with why can't you sleep? And that's a multifactorial question. And so number one is I'm going to look at your hormone balance. Do you have a thyroid problem? Do you have an insulin problem? Do you have a cortisol problem? those are the big three, and then the sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And so that hormonal symphony has to be balanced. And if you have a problem in one hormone, I promise you have a problem in another, because they don't work in a vacuum. They work. I used to have a mobile over my desk because I would show people that if you push thyroid hormone, all the other hormones are affected. Cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. You cannot affect one without affecting the others. You never have one hormone problem. You always have a handful. So that's the first level that we look at for if you can't sleep, and DHEA is part of that. But then we look at toxicity. Toxicity levels are so high among us because there is no standard of care for having people detoxify and remove toxic chemicals that we're inundated with every single day from our bodies. I mean, that's what I was taught as mainstream board certified physician, which I'm still board certified, but I by no means practice mainstream medicine, because I know that it's not the way to achieve true health. So when I practiced that, we were taught, no, the body takes care of all the toxins. But, we're exposed to, there are 85,000 new chemicals in the environment since 1950, and each person has traces of 400 toxic chemicals in them. So you have to actively do something to get rid of that stuff, or it clogs up your machinery, and that's the reason that you can't sleep. And then nutritional deficiency, because all of this work that your body has to do in this day and age to detoxify, balance hormones, requires extra nutrition. So the RDAs that we use that were created in the 1950s are no longer valid. So nutritional deficiency can be a reason that you can't sleep. Of magnesium, for instance, that's a key component. And so all this just to demonstrate that it's never one problem. So DHEA, yes, it's essential for your health, but it's never a quick fix, and it's not a miracle. It's a component of addressing the root causes of dysfunction in your health. And when you do that, then sleep gets better, energy gets better, weight gets better, bone mass improves, cognitive functioning, mood, memory, gastrointestinal functioning, everything improves.
So how do we go about balancing our system? All right, since you've already talked about that, it's not a vacuum. Where would we go? Well, how would we start to balance our system and see about getting our hormones back in alignment? Is supplementation an option? Is it not an option?
So I start with hormones. To me, it's the foundation. So why is it the foundation? Because hormones are communicators in your body. You have two branches of communication in your body. You've got your hardwired nervous system, that's your brain and your the part of the nervous system that you control and that you don't control, the autonomic nervous system. So just like in your house, you have your hardwired internet that you can plug into, that's your nervous system. And then you have your wireless internet in your house. That's another form of communication of the computer to the network, right? And that is your hormones. Hormones are your wireless communicators in your body. They're secreted by one organ. They go through the blood to another organ, and they affect a change. So they're communication. So communication is the most important aspect of any system to function optimally. If you think about it, when there's a hurricane in a certain area and roads are blocked, telephone lines are down, what's the first thing you have to do to restore order to that area? You have to restore communication. You've got to get phone lines up. You have to get the roadways up so that people can get in and out and people can communicate to heal the area, right? It's the same in your body. So in your body, it's exactly the same. You've got to have the communication signals going properly in order for cells to know what they're supposed to do. And so for me, that's why I start with hormones. And I always start with the big seven. So you've got to start with your three main metabolic drivers. That's insulin, thyroid, and cortisol. Now, I include in that DHEA actually as the fourth, as the backup to cortisol. So it is one of the seven main hormones as well that I look at. But it's more in a supporting role. It's never, like I said, the magic bullet, one-size-fits-all miracle cure. It is a key ingredient in the cast of actors of these 7 hormones. And then also the sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. So you got to start with the foundation. And for me, hormones are the foundation. And then you've got to start with getting the bad stuff out and the good stuff in. Bad stuff out is detoxification. And you've got to open your portals in specific ways where you get rid of items. So that's majority of things we get rid of through the gastrointestinal tract, through the liver. I'd say 80 to 90%, and then fewer things we get rid of through the kidneys and through breathing and through our skin. Now, skin is important though, because there's some things that we'll only get rid of through our skin. So deprivation therapy, sweating, sauna is vital to a detox program. So detoxification, and then also I call it nutrification, getting the right nutrients on board. You need to be taking broad-based multivitamin mineral supplements. You cannot eat your way into adequate nutrition in this day and age because of our farming practices, because of the way we process our foods. So you need a good broad-based multivitamin mineral supplement, and that's not a one a day. That is not sufficient. Most vitamins, multivitamin mineral supplements that are worth what you're paying for them, you're going to be taking 12 or 14 capsules, loose fill capsules, or a liquid a day.
Wow.
And to get everything that you need, right? And so, you cannot, just like you can't be optimally healthy without appropriate exercise, you cannot be optimally healthy in this day and age without appropriate supplementation. It's just impossible.
Correct. Dr. Dunston, I'm always pleased when you're here because you're so candid and you're so, I like to say, you're just straight at it. You don't mess around. and I appreciate that so much.
Hello, I can't hear you.
What in this community and who want to take things like DHEA and things of that nature. I know I have my own opinion, which is stay closest to the root as possible. Which to me is like you said, nutrition, exercise, things of that nature. But what about you? What's your opinion when it comes to things of this nature? Is it something that people should look into at times? And if so, when? When is it appropriate?
Well, I just want to let you know that you cut out after you said that you always appreciate that. You cut out. I couldn't hear a thing you said, so I don't know if it's on your recording. You may want to say all that again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that when is it appropriate, or when should an individual? Well, let me go back. My question is, what is your opinion with people and supplementing at times, especially in the fitness world? What is your thoughts on supplementation like DHEA and things of that nature? I myself like to stay closer to the root with traditional nutrition, going through food. But what is your opinion on supplementation, not only with DHEA, but other supplements? And when is it necessary? When should people really consider it, appropriately?
Okay, so I think that there's great utility in kind of global supplementation. Like I said a minute ago, it's impossible to be optimally healthy without supplementation. So really, everyone needs to be taking a high-quality, broad-based multivitamin mineral nutrient supplement, 12 to 14 loose fill capsules a day. You need that. Once you pass 30, I think it is not harmful and can be helpful for people to supplement with a small amount of DHEA. For women, that might be 5 milligrams a day. Men can tolerate more because a lot of it will be turned into androgens, and so the risk is for women, you don't want to have too high a dose because you don't want to masculinize yourself. So without testing, I'd say 5 milligrams for women is probably a maximum. Men can probably get away with 20 or 25 milligrams without testing. So when we test people and they are deficient, sometimes we'll put them on much higher levels. But as I said, without testing, you probably don't want to push the envelope. And if you're trying to lose weight, I think that 7-keto DHEA can be very helpful. And so that can be used as well. And, there are things like CoQ10 and magnesium and carnitine that people will particularly use up when they are physically active to a higher degree. And so those need to be supplemented. If you are an athlete or you do work out regularly, you have to understand that you're expending nutritional resources at a much higher rate than the average person, and that means that you have to replace them at a higher rate. So this practice of pre-workout supplements and post-workout supplements and during workout supplements is an excellent idea, like with branched-chain amino acids after you work out, so that when the muscles that have, broken down fibers because of the exertion and then are going to heal, and that's how you build muscle mass, they're going to be looking for those branched-chain amino acids. Well, if they don't have it, then they're going to have to cannibalize themselves to get it. So if you give your body what it needs and support it, then you're really going to see much better results. So hopefully that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Dr. Kyrin, we appreciate you coming back to the show and being so gracious. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier in the week, but thank you so much. And again, the offer, anytime you want to come to the podcast, it's always open to you because you've been so gracious. You also, am I correct? You wrote a book, am I correct? Or are you working on a book?
Well, I'm working on one, but I also wrote one. It's called Cracking the Bikini Code, 6 Secrets to Permanent Weight Loss Success. It's an all-natural approach to weight loss. It's how I lost over 100 pounds at 50 years of age. And it details all the things that we've been talking about, Sun Moon, so people are welcome to pick it up and look at it. I talk about, why hormones are so important, toxicity, what you need to do to detoxify. And and I'm working on another book, but I haven't announced that yet, so it's coming soon.
Well, when it is completed, we hope that we will be one of the platforms that you decide to let people know about it on.
Yes, and I will mention also that I'm doing a series of YouTube videos for menopausal women, Menopause Boss. It's under Kyrin Dunston, MD on YouTube. And it can be particularly difficult for women to lose weight once they're in the perimenopause, once they hit 40 and then the menopause 50. And so I'm doing a series of YouTube videos on those topics as well.
Dr. Kyrin, can you let everybody know where they can also look up more of your information? I know you have a website and an email. Please share it with our listeners and the new listeners who are coming, as well as we'll be streaming this now as well. I didn't say that before, but we're going to start streaming everybody that's listening. We're going to hopefully get to the point where we're doing live streams actually very soon, but this will be streamed also on Facebook as well as on Instagram. So and YouTube as well. So it's going to give other individuals a broader spectrum to see the information. So please share your contact information with us.
Sure, they can find me on the website. It's Kyrin Dunston, MD, and it's spelled KYRINDUNSTONMD.com. There are links there to the YouTube videos, to my podcast, Her Brilliant Health. There's a quiz that they can take on there to find out why they're having difficulty losing weight and no energy, and that they can sign up also for my email list. I have lots of resources that I share with you, like my Diet Deceptive Dozen, 12 foods flying under your radar that are keeping you overweight and tired that you don't realize, and then also my Lean 15 report of 15 foods you should definitely add to your diet if you're not already eating them, that will help with your weight and energy, and a host of other things. So I hope you'll head there to get more information.
As always, the fantastic Dr. Kyrin Dunston. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you as well.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the Daylight Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Big shout out to Dr. Dunston for coming back to the Daylight Fit podcast and talking with us about DHEA and what it is to the body and how it can help us, how we can properly supplement it, and just giving us some good knowledge about what this hormone is to the body. You know, there's so much going on out there. There's so much that we're not aware of when it comes to our bodies that it's always good to do research. It's always good to have individuals who can also come and confirm or properly explain the research that you're reading. So that's one thing why we're so grateful to all of our guests that come to the Daylight Fit podcast, like Dr. Dunston, and give us good, solid information. And for everybody out there listening, I urge you, before you go about doing anything on your own, please, do a lot of research. Do a tremendous amount of research. Talk to the people themselves who can help you. Don't just do the whole Google thing. Google is nice, but you want to talk to people who can give you a little bit more in-depth information because Google is a huge search engine. And this is no knock on anybody or any company or anything like that. We're just saying that you want to be as decisive as possible when you're dealing with your body. So please, before you do anything, refer to your physician, refer to the professionals, and do your research. Just like Dr. Dunston said, you want to make sure that you know what it is that you're doing before you do it. And I just want to thank everybody out there who came back and joined us for the Daylight Fit podcast's return. We didn't really go anywhere, but it seems like we were out of action for a little bit, but we weren't really. We were consistently working. We were talking with all of you. We were letting all of our fans and all of our people know out there that, hey, we're still here. We're just getting ready for bigger and better things to help all of you out there. And I'm so excited. So excited. If you are coming to the Anchor website or any of our platforms, please pay attention. If you like what we're doing here, if you want to be help us help you, please check out our sponsor link. The sponsorship helps us to create more programming like this to help all of you out there. Helps to run the broadcast, helps to run and pay for the engineering and all of the other things that we're doing here. So please, if you're interested, you can hit us up here. Hit us up at daylightfitpodcast.com. And we have a donation link. It's up to you. Hey, if you don't want to, even just sending an email that says, hey man, I like what you're doing, or hey, we love what you're doing, or tell us how we can make the podcast better. It helps us to put out more positive content, which can help all of you out there. And the biggest thing is, please subscribe and tell others about us, because this is what we're here for. We're here to help each one teach one. We're here to support the village, which is the human family, and we're all related to each other. We're all brothers and sisters. We might not all get along, but we come from the human family, and we have to take care of this village. If not for us, for the next young people that are coming, because they are the ones that are going to inherit all of our debts. So I thank everybody for tuning in to the Daylight Fit podcast. As always, please love yourselves. I know if you love yourselves, then you will truly begin to try and love others. Peace and have a wonderful day.
You've been listening to the Daylight Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.